All right, let's get this party started.
You're caught in a lie, and I know why. Tangled truths won't fly, you can't deny. Think you'll vanish, but have no fear. You're bound, you're found, you're here, my trying to pretend you're just a servant in the end. Caught in a lie, and I know why. You think you'll disappear, but have no fear. You're here to stay, and no one believes you today. Baba Fago, trying to play the game. Just another snake, but you're all the same. You're trapped in illusions, no more disguise. Those webs of deceit unravel your eyes. Your game is over, no need to hide. Caught in the truth where you'll collide. Trying to escape fate, just another trickster meeting your day. You think you'll vanish, a fleeting charade, but mirrors shatter, exposing the facade. Reality whispers, the truth prevails. Caught in a lie, the illusion fails. Caught in a lie. And I know why. You think you'll disappear, but have no fear. You're here to stay, and no one believes you today. Bye-bye! Thank God!
All right. Welcome to Not My Rabbit Hole. Let me turn this off here. This is Saturday, August 30th. It's the beginning of the Labor Day weekend. I guess maybe some people think Friday is the beginning of the Labor Day weekend, but this is actually the Labor Day weekend here. I decided to put my camera on today because, like a lot of my last few videos, I've just kind of been talking without the camera, and it's kind of lazy, really. I think also, I'm wanting to do some different cutaways from this particular broadcast. All right, so let me want to give you a recap on. Hi, Paul Shields. Good afternoon. Nice to see you here today. Hi. I just kind of wanted to give a recap of like what my week was like. My week was like for me. I don't know how your week was for you guys. Hopefully, all is well in your world. But it's my second week of working on my master's program, the MFA program for, I'm actually my specialty, or I guess my study is creative nonfiction writing. But I also was in the throes of the first article that I wrote for the Collegian this semester. I got hired on staff as a senior reporter for the Collegian, and I'm super excited to say that my beat is artificial intelligence. And so I wrote my first article for the Collegian, and that was pretty intense because I did a series of different interviews with different people to get the story on it, and I actually over interviewed. So I guess it's always good to have a little extra when you're interviewing. But I'm really excited to have my beat artificial intelligence. Actually, the song that I started, I created with artificial intelligence on a platform called Astro Record 6980. And also my, if you want to know, and I can put it in the chat here, I'll put it in the chat here in a minute. I'll talk about my article again, but it just published yesterday morning. And so it's also on my timeline here at, on Not My Rabbit Hole, my community post. I guess now I notice there's community groups. I okayed it. I haven't experimented with it here on YouTube. I guess it allows people to post in the group, as you know, it would be more interactive. I guess maybe like Facebook, so with subscribers. So I think that might be kind of interesting. So I'm going to experiment with that in the future. Okay, so a little bit about like what to expect on Not My Rabbit Hole. If you are you do listen to me, and or you just recently subscribed, part of my MFA program in my nonfiction creative writing class, we have a 100-day project challenge, meaning that I have to, my commitment is that I'm going to create something for Not My Rabbit Hole, whether it be like a live stream or, whether I did my thumbnail or the research. Every day I have to do something towards Not My Rabbit Hole. And Not My Rabbit Hole originally started out, I started it on Spotify, and it was really meant for, because at the time I had my Freedom of Joyce channel, and it was really meant for like a rant, like just for me to, just exercise thoughts that I think are going on in the world or that I want to talk about, and everything. But since it's expanded into other places, it's still expanding. I want to bring back some interviewing and other types of things that can go in Not My Rabbit Hole. There is a website. I have notmyrabbithole.com. I have my blog. I'm going to talk about David Schurter's blog today. Part of my rant today actually does include David Schurter. So if you are looking for, what is the next commentary on what's going on, I do have some to make on that particular topic. But today, my project was to actually really live stream and, communicate. Oh, by the way, my aunt, maybe I should stand up a little bit. My aunt gave me this, she gave me a whole bunch of like really cool leather jackets. So I thought I would like start to wear some of them on my show, right? Because they're just so, there's so many of them. And this is like one that I got from her. So I just want to thank my aunt for giving me some really cool jackets to wear on Not My Rabbit Hole. Okay, so while I've been in school, by the way, just so you know, like the multitude of things that I have to get done. And I know like David Schurter sits on his show and he sits about like, I barely made it here. I have so much. I can't really be bothered. I can't look at what you have to say about me. I can't look at what you have to say about me because you're obsessed with me about what I'm saying about you, kind of like every day morning that this guy David Schurter does. And if you don't know who David Schurter is, because I think people at David Schurter in his own mind, it's like everybody should know who David Schurter is. But I realize that even when I talk about David Schurter, people don't like, if I do a David Schurter video, by and large on my social media, people really just don't care, really. Even though, apparently all the screaming and yelling that he does on his channel, we should fear him. But while I've been like really busy this week, because I'm afraid about next week, because last week I had an article to write, my first article, but at the same time I had to read 90 pages for one of my classes, an entire book for another class, and And, right off the bat, plus, like I was tutoring, so I had to do worksheets and all this kind of stuff. But apparently, according to David, I make my living working as a whore or a prostitute, or I have done that in the past. And or I'm actually like trafficking children probably right now as we speak. I mean, like the or we are spending all of our time trying to stop David Schurter from saving children. Okay. So, this week, like off and on, David Schurter for me right now, to be honest with you guys, because there's only so much you can do in a day, right? And there's only you really have to like prioritize what goals are. Like, are you going to report on artificial intelligence, which is like a paradigm shift in humanity right now? And there's tools being given to students in the educational system, because this is going to be what people are doing. Like the song that I just played right now, that is like artificial intelligence is a tool that is now available to everybody. And there's a lot of interesting things going on about that I want to bring up. Like, for instance, Denise Matau, like, using Grok as some sort of like spiritual oracle, I mean, like asking questions, doing shows about it, like as if like, artificial intelligence has like some sort of message for you, or it's going to like give you directions on how to like, do your life. One of the things that you should know about artificial intelligence is that it's kind of like it matches information. It matches patterns. It's not really, should never be taken as like factual knowledge. And, actually I explain it better in the article that I wrote about what it is. Like it can have biases depending on what you put in the prompt. And it also can hallucinate, mean it could like give you gibberish. That's why it's really important to look at the links that people are giving you on artificial intelligence. There's a case that's happening right now where there is a teenage boy, he was 16, that actually unalivened himself because of his interaction with ChatGPT EDU. And apparently the AI even described how to do it. And, a lot of you might already know this news, but, there is something going on surrounding by that. So the topic of artificial intelligence, the benefits of artificial intelligence, and the things that people need to be educated about in order to avoid, certain types of tragedies like that is really important. So, I'm thinking about like, well, am I going to talk about David Schurter and spend all my time about what David Schurter is calling me, like saying that I, worked as a prostitute, or no, really, I worked as a porn star. Let me upgrade it a little bit. I worked at, like comments that I worked as a porn star, and how dare me like judge him for, what was it? Like, how dare me judge him for working as a prostitute? And I'm like, okay. And, he like, okay, so this week, right? Because in my off time, like in the time where I'm trying to just like, like let's say I'm doing my studies and I've been studying like on something for like an hour, and I'm like, man, I need a break. And I'm like, what crap did David Schurter say about me today? And then I go and I don't subscribe, because trust me, I'm not going to give him the grace of actually having me be a follower of his. And or pumping his numbers up in any way whatsoever, anyway on YouTube. But I go and I look, and David Schurter is really heavily talking about me, just really like going on about like, she worked as a porn star, and how dare she judge me for being a prostitute, and all this of what I've done compared to like what she's done. And the only thing I did before he like made that video. Now I've after he started like talking about it, then I kind of went, well, enjoy this. You know what I mean? I kind of made this, what do you call it? Midnight Cowboy reference. Like, Everybody's talking about me. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Okay, you know what I'm saying? It's like I just I'll show you what I posted actually here in a second, but I really don't want to do a screen share yet. But so he's going, oh, she made her living working as a porn star, and then then I had to say something like, no, I actually made a living being a stand-up comedian. Like, please, like the porn star stuff is just like, that's like extremely minimal. Like, matter of fact, that didn't even like hardly happen. Although, everybody, and obviously I've never hidden this fact. I did write a couple of adult films. One of them was a Hustler movie. Okay. And I have had, an association way back then, but let me reiterate about that, is that it was legal. Okay. And we had to follow certain laws in California, and it was perfectly on the up and up. And there was, whether you find, that type of, content offensive or not, that's your moral judgment. That's your moral decision on what you think that is. But in terms of the business and the brief involvement in my lifetime that I actually had in that particular field, was brief. All right. And it was legal. There was nobody who was underage working on any of those particular films. And each person actually had to go in and get an Ames test and get checked out and have a document to prove that they didn't have any STDs to be filed as the production. So this is how that business worked at that particular time. So like when David is sitting around and exasperating like one small slice of my life that I'm willing to share and say, hey, it wasn't the best thing to do. It's a bit eyebrow raising. But when you look into the legality of it and what it really is, that is what it is. And so no matter what David Schurter says about what I've done or who I am or what it is, but like for the past year and a half, 2 years, David has been calling me a whore. And, he's blatantly said on his channel that I made a living on my back and had already chastised me for something that's not true. I did not make my living lying on my back. I made my living telling jokes in comedy clubs. And, I was a finalist and, I'm a former reality television star on Last Comic Standing for being a stand-up comedian. So when you say, like, do I have a credit or do I have a way to prove that what I'm saying, what I did with my life or what kind of a pinnacle moment of my life is, I can prove that. All right. And yet David cannot and has no capability of proving anything that he says or the allegations that he says about other people or like what is going on in his life. And so here's what really happened last week. I stumbled on a video from documenting, David Schurter that was a clip of him at a train station, not train station, but the Greyhound station in Omaha, Nebraska, where I've been to that. I've come in on that Greyhound before because I used to take the Greyhound on, to the different cities when I was performing in the Northwest for the Funny Bones, and they would pick me up from that Greyhound station. Like, for example, Dino Tripodis, which I worked with them in Columbus, Ohio, way back in the 90s. We took a bus ride over and got off from Columbus to Nebraska because he was the headliner and I was the feature act. Or maybe I was the opening act back then. Yeah, he was the featured act. He became a headliner. Or was he the headliner? Oh, I can't remember. Anyway, all I remember, we were on a bus and he got off. And before we got off, he goes, God, that was kind of like being on, like, we were like on a ride with My Private Idaho, which was a Gus Van Sant movie that starred River Phoenix and Keanu Reeves. And it was about like male prostitutes, which is the irony of his statement, and then David actually walking in, in Nebraska on the street. Now, probably like right now, David would go, "Oh, Terry Joyce was on that bus at the Greyhound, and so she knows." And that comedian said that, so that proves that she's part of a higher trafficking ring that is part of the Franklin cover-up. I wouldn't be surprised if he would make up something like that, or somehow he would be scripted to say something like that. But I'm going to go ahead and find this video. But while I'm doing it, I would like to play a song that was inspired by David Schurter while I'm looking for it.
Butcher knife steps in, wearing my man bun, thinking I'm a G-man, dreaming the pig pen. Nobody has fun until I'm done. Bro, butcher knife stepson, wearing my man bun, another restraining order. Scum, bro. 2, 3, 4, 5 hit whip. Butcher knife stepson, don't need gun. I will cycle pump you till you done another restraining order. Fun. Yeah. Butcher knife stepson, wearing my man bun. People say I'm scum. I'm done. Butcher knife stepson, thinking this is fun. Oh, butcher knife stepson, wearing my man bun, thinking I'm a G-man, dreaming the pig pen. Nobody has fun until I'm done. Oh, butcher knife stepson, wearing my man bun, another restraining orders. Go. What? 2, 3, 4, 5 hit whip. Butcher knife stepson.
All right, welcome back. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is actually, oh, and by the way, so since this is my 100-day commitment, I'm trying to be as on top of it as I can, because this is new brand new Not My Rabbit Hole. And if you are interested in supporting Not My Rabbit Hole, that's how you can do it. And make sure that you like and subscribe for so much more, for more cool content coming your way. All right, that was hard for me to get out. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you my posts. I like posting on my threads, and I'm kind of excited to try that other. Make sure I have that shared right. Okay, so this is my community post, and this is, you can tell, 4 days ago. So this is all kind of culminated in 4 days. So today's Saturday, Tuesday maybe, or something like that. Anyway, I posted this, and this is the only place I posted it. But David Schurter went on this whole Terry, she blocked me, and I had to get a sock account to see what she was saying. And it's okay that she blocked me. You know what, David? I have you blocked everywhere. But the fact that I have you blocked on YouTube still allows you to be able to look on my community posts. Or you can still actually look on my X post. All you have to do is, it says you're blocked. You just tapped onto it. You can still see what I wrote about you. You just can't comment on it. So, it kind of makes me wonder if David really didn't look at anything. He just had somebody reporting to him or giving him content saying, hey, Terry Joyce is criticizing you for being a male prostitute. So as you can see, this is what I wrote, right? I didn't even say it. David did what for $20 in his own words, folks. Now, again, the title of the video shared says David Schurter shows us his former hustling spot in Omaha. Now, even this really doesn't, it's kind of sarcastic. It says in his own words, folks, but it's not something where I'm going, oh, David Schurter, you're a terrible whore. Basically, what I'm saying is I'm showing a receipt of David Schurter admitting what he did. And just I'm giving you a preference there. He does say something that is kind of crude, so be aware. Hopefully it's not too offensive for you. So the thing of it is David says on his channel, well, Terry is judging me for having done prostitution when she's just a whore herself. No, it's the other way around. You judged me and called me a whore, but in fact, you're the one who's been a prostitute. So here's what I'm going to show here.
To a 5-room extravaganza. We'll see it on my way back. This is the Greyhound. The Greyhound bus station.
All right, so there's the Greyhound bus station. I'm familiar with it, and I love the fact that it has jennycraig.com on the bus. Okay, here we go. I did closed caption too because I don't want you to miss what he says.
See this wall up here? I spent hours sitting on this wall with all the kids I knew. It was a hustling place that everyone knew about.
So here's the deal. As a kid, and it's on it's his own free will. And by the way, I think he was 19 at this time. So technically he's not really a kid. And, he's almost 20 years old. And if he was a kid, it would be kind of weird if he was hanging around with kids that were hustling at the Greyhound bus station and he was 19. Don't you think that's kind of weird? It's kind of weird, right? Okay, so let's keep going.
Now, see, what they don't want you to realize, see how the cop shop is right like that? And the road is
So, look how he's doing it. Okay, and now the police are in on it, which is a typical narrative of David, being that because of the fact that Sheriff Neil Gross isn't doing something about me, right? Who is, working as a journalist or student journalist at the paper and getting an MFA in creative nonfiction with a buttload of things to do in a week. Instead, he's I'm an innocent person. So why would Neil Gross believe anything that David was saying, especially when David has inconsistencies on the things that he said? And we're going to go into that here in just a second. I'm going to prove that a little bit more, but let's keep going.
so bad. That's because that is newly built. This used to be an entire block. You could drive around it, and car after car did. This is the wall people used to sit on the run, right there. And this is the run. I have walked this as a kid, I don't know how many times.
And why are you walking it as a kid? Like, where's your mom and dad that they let you hang around the bus station where child prostitution is taking place? Basically is what he's saying, right? I mean, kids, define kids.
Now, I wasn't exactly what you would call a hustler, even though I did let people suck my dick for $20. But all my friends were into it.
Okay, so you heard it right there. Let me just repeat that again. He let people SUCK his DICK for $20. Okay. I've never let anybody do anything to me like that for $20. Well, I don't have a DICK. I don't have a dick, but still, I never did a sexual act on the street anywhere or any place where I accepted $20 for it.
We're into it.
Here, go back.
For $20.
Here we go.
Now, I wasn't exactly what you would call a hustler, even though I did let people suck my dick for $20. But all my friends were into it.
All my friends were into it. But all my friends were into it. What friends? Like, what friends of yours were into it? Like, if you're talking, like, because to me, this video is like, oh, here's where all the kids were hustlers, and I was hustling with them. Now, recently in his other videos, he's saying that he was 19 years old when he was doing it. If he's referring to kids being around him and he's 19 years old and he's doing it, I mean, there's an inconsistency in his story, and an unnecessary, he says, oh, well, she's judging me. No, I'm judging. I'm saying something about you because you've been making up stories about me, and there is no video of me saying that anywhere. All right, there's no video of me saying I worked as a prostitute. All right. But there are several videos that you can find, even on my own channel and channels that I have, of me doing stand-up comedy that I can actually really show as verification. Now, I might make jokes about things like that. Like, I was, in front of, at the bus station the other day, and this guy came up to me and he's smoking a cigarette and he goes, "You know what? You really don't look like a hooker." And I go, "That's because I'm not. I give it up for free." Like, that's actually in my act. Okay. I give it up for free. You will not see me saying, "Oh yeah, you got $20. That's not the punchline to the joke, David Schurter. So, I think I've pretty much like made my point about that particular thing. Now, the next thing that I want to bring up that I find, kind of interesting about David Schurter right now is, well, maybe I should I also want to read some of the things that he actually really said about me first on his blog. And then also some of the things that he's said recently, because, he's talking about, everybody donated to him, right? I could swear in his video today, I thought he said he acknowledged Sherilyn in his chat. I thought Sherilyn and Smokey. Honestly, today, his video is so foul, and such horrible words in just juxtaposition to saying child or kid, that it is absolutely disturbing this morning. And the accusations that he made about certain people are just really disturbing. I don't even want that on my channel. But you know what? Let me just get to this one video, okay? David, let me go to my history here. Oh, here it is. Yeah. Oh, that's not what I want. This video, and it's from Dangerous Deranged David. It's a channel. I don't know. I could click on and see the exact channel. Let me find the exact channel. Oh, I think it's Documenting David. It's Documenting David, but they changed the name on it. Okay. So this, lately, if you are familiar with David Schurter, some of you are familiar with David Schurter. David Lynn Schurter, the author of Rabbit Hole, about his satanic ritual abuse that it's never been corroborated as fact by anybody. It's only his made up testimony. In my opinion, it's a made up testimony because, he can't validate anything that happened to him. And, and I know he's lying about me. So then I know if he's lying about me, then I'm like, okay, theoretically he would probably be lying about other people. And look, I also want you to pay attention to his disheveled appearance, which he is in a lot of his videos, and his overall cadence. Yeah, it's all bullshit, John. Of course it is. Hi. Hello. Yeah. So this whole time recently, he was Michael Aquino, all right? The Colonel Michael Aquino, Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino, the known Satanist that hung out with Anton LaVey, and also started the Temple of Set, and then has been on the Oprah and TV shows, and back in the 70s, I guess it was the 80s, Geraldo Rivera, very known, controversial person in the public. Yes, there was the Presidio daycare center scandal, but he was able to prove that he wasn't in San Francisco at that time. He was actually in Washington, D.C., so there's no way, he could have been involved with those allegations. And, the thing about Michael Aquino that I want to bring up, that everybody in this media, in this truth media that, that everybody's, that we are all kind of a part of, that I became a part of back in, 2014 when I started on Revolution Radio. there's these stories about Michael Aquino and people being associated to Michael Aquino. For example, you have Douglas Dietrich, right? So Douglas Dietrich being his librarian, and even Christina Joanna Hart came out on Revolution Radio with stories that she was groomed by Michael Aquino and trauma and child abuse and the SRTA, satanic ritual abuse aspect. Then you had I think Fiona Barnett, I think, said it. There is David Schurter has brought in Michael Aquino into his narrative. He was sexually abused by Michael Aquino and handled by Michael Aquino, and taught how to do super soldier-like things like remote viewing and harming people, psychic harm, psychic killing, things like this. All right, magic, these kind of special abilities. That he says that he's learned from Michael Aquino. So Michael Aquino has now passed away. He died, I don't know how long ago. It feels like 5 years or something like that. But David, lately in his videos, have been going on and on about how he's still alive and how he doesn't think he's dead and all this kind of stuff. But what's interesting about this video is, in this video, he's actually saying that he was responsible for killing Michael Aquino with his special skills. Back then, he was telling a different narrative. And these are the things that we should really be paying attention about David Schurter. So I'm going to go ahead and share that here for a moment. Now, at first glance, just look at this. I'm going to take myself out of the equation and try to expand this as much as I can. And let's do this to closed caption. Now, look how awful. And I don't mean it's okay, not every day do you want to not every day should you put a camera on. Today, I did my hair and I put some makeup on and I'm wearing my one of the nice leather jackets that my mom gave me. But here, David looked like he just rolled out of bed and is a mess. And when you look at people who are giving out information, when they look like they're not put together and crazy, how is it that you're going to believe them? He goes, well, they're saying I'm crazy. Well, you know what? If you don't want people to say that you're crazy, maybe it might be a good idea not to act crazy. How about that? So here we go. Let's play this.
To Aquino committing suicide is that after they murdered Isaac Cappy and threw him off that bridge, I was so incensed about it that I went to the other side and enlisted Isaac and Max Spears' help to terrorize Aquino.
So realize what he's saying. He is going back and saying that he sent people in another plane. They've already died. Isaac and Max Spears is no longer with them, but David has the ability to terrorize Michael Aquino with him. So he's able to bring spirits with other people to attack them. Let's go back again.
How I was a catalyst to Aquino committing suicide is that...
So he's saying that he's a catalyst of Aquino committing suicide. But just the other day, he said he did not commit a suicide and he's still alive. But here he's saying that he's a catalyst to him committing suicide. See how that works? It's contradictory to what he said last week.
After they murdered Isaac Cappy and threw him off that bridge, I was so incensed about it that I went to the other side and enlisted Isaac and Max Spears' help to terrorize Aquino, to never let him sleep. And when he slept, never let him rest, just terrorize him, make him afraid to go to sleep, basically. It's all shit that
it's all stuff happening in the astral, which is everybody talks about this. Everybody, who a lot of the people that are connected to talking about satanic ritual abuse, also throw in this element of, you know, being able to do on the astral plane. I mean, let's go through. There's like a list. Okay, so you got Christine Joanna Hurt, you've got Sarah Rachel Adams, you've got maybe not Sarah so much, but she does talk about doing stuff like that. You've got Stephen D. Kelly, who does the Getty Museum trafficking LARP. And then also Max Spears. All of the super soldiers talk about doing things in the astral. My God, even, and you know, he was mad at me that I criticized him for this, but Duncan O'Finian used that as an excuse not to show up for one of the seminars that he literally took money from, and people got hotel rooms to do this training. And he said he couldn't make it, and he didn't even return their money, and he couldn't make it because he was doing battle in the astral plane. Is that really okay for everybody? I'm just wondering, right? Okay, here we go.
I learned how to do on the other side with my training and all of that. And I had done this before because 3 weeks after my dad died, my brother-in-law took part in pumping a bunch of insulin into my sister and murdering her 3 weeks after our dad died. And I was incredibly close to Cindy. And so I journeyed and took my consciousness, went to the other side. She's not hard to find. She's never left my side since she died. That we were really close. And I asked her to do the same thing to my brother-in-law, my city manager, can't be touched brother-in-law who thought that he could just do whatever he wanted to do and get away with it. I asked Cindy to do the same thing to him. Never let him sleep. And when he did.
So, you know, he's talking about how he gets revenge on people in like, not in the physical realm, but in the spiritual realm, which he, you know, part of his narrative is that, you know, he was trained as a child by Michael Aquino to do such things, to be a weapon in the spiritual world, because he is doing God's work against the satanic ritual, Nazi ritual abuse survivors. I mean, abusers. That is not normal. That is not normal. And unfortunately, David will put any person that he has an issue with or that might have like criticized them on their YouTube channel or done an X post about him. He will go over and over and over and talk about all these things and make these kinds of threats to them by, you know, saying he's going to use Max Spears because, you know, he did that to me. He said, me and Max are going to go after Tere, you know, in the astral. And makes all these accusations, and yet he sits and prays in front of God and asks, and never, I don't really hear him asking for forgiveness. It's basically asking God to come and do something to us on his behalf, and, you know, complain about how he's a victim to God, you know, from us by God, when he's actually a victim of his own self.
Never let him rest. And 3 years, he was dead, and I was talking to my niece. And I told my niece what I did because my feelings towards this whole thing of him murdering my sister were well known from the beginning. And so I told her what I had done, and she got really quiet. And then she told me, oh my God, that's exactly how he died. And so what Aquino taught me and all of that works. It works.
Here's the real thing, David. You never knew Aquino, okay? You never knew Aquino. You didn't know who he was. He doesn't know. He never met you. There is no connection here. And I really don't see how Michael Aquino could have been all over the world as a central figure for all of these people that have been saying this on their X accounts or their Twitter when it was, or whatever. It's not real. It's like complete fantasy. It's hogwash. And David has had several restraining orders against him for this behavior, for making these he accused people, his neighbors, of like doing direct energy weapons on him, all kinds of things. And John is and John on his channel has shown so many videos. There are people like, it was so funny because David was like telling people that I was what did he say? He told people that I was the person who was giving content to Gabe Hoffman to put on YouTube or to talk about him with. And I'm like, wow, that is not the case, David. Okay. All right. So let me go to this one here. Wait, I meant to be like that. Oh yeah, I meant to be like that. Okay. So, John is saying it's all bullshit. Hello, hi. That period that David claims Aquino was grooming him with the darkness Aquino was serving overseas during various missions. Yes. Yep. Right? Like all these disgusting storytellers, their real timeline always tells the truth. This is part of his character. Yep. The victims and hero in one. It's pathetic. Yes. Psycho pumped them. Yep. The whole psycho pumping thing. Looks like he's the one not having sleep. Guilt does that to a person. At linging in the astral plane. No, he has never even met him. It's rubbish. Yeah, it's total rubbish. And really, people, Daniel Dowd said something the other day that was really interesting. He was like calling out hoax and like these other channels. It's like, why aren't you talking about this? Like, this is actual gold. Like, this is like gold. Like, David Schurter is somebody on the internet. David Schurter is an example of like, and this like an era on the internet of what this type of LARP looks like, and also the underbelly of mental illness behind it. Because, like, let's face it, he says, I'm not crazy. Well, he's on disability because he's got something wrong, like PTSD, which it doesn't mean that you're crazy, but he's unemployable at this point for some reason, and taking checks from the government because of it. I mean, granted, everybody, should, we do need assistance at some point in our lives, and, or, as a society, like, you want to make sure that you take care of people. But obviously, if, he talks about going to a therapist, he talks about, having people maybe being institutionalized. He talks about abusing his nephew. He still abuses his nephew on publicly on video, saying horrible things, re-traumatizing him as a 30-year-old man. I mean, this guy, and he has numerous restraining orders, which he denies having, but we've all found them. It's all, the cat is out of the bag. And so, like what we're seeing is kind of like, I don't know. It's like the falling of him. The illusion of what David Schurter has done is dropping. And unfortunately, it looks like by comments that he gets from people, oh, David, I'm praying for you. Oh, David, obviously somebody's giving him still some money. Somehow he's getting some sort of support. You have Sophia Music every once in a while, like all over the past few years, agreeing with David, and also harassing the people, or, double downing on what David Schurter said. We have, and you know what? I want to put I want you to see my face when I say this. We have Nathan Stoltman out there backing David Schurter, supporting David Schurter, and even chastising me as if I'm the bad guy. Come on, guys. This is it's not okay. And it's not okay to allow Nathan Stoltman to say that either and accept it and put a blind eye to it. It's just one big freaking LARP, isn't it? The holdover from 2017 is being barked out constantly from David Schroeder, like a crazed man, like the mad woman from Shiloh or Shiloh.
The other side, the spiritual, your consciousness. That's why I tell you there's only two sides to this game. I knew about demons and the existence of demons before I ever really even conceived anything about God.
You know what, David, you are a demon, okay? You somehow probably a demon has put you up to this. We did see your eye shape shift. By the way, I'm kind of in the mood to show that today.
In heaven, it wasn't until after I got out of Cherokee, after having that psychotic break, after they made me light some dude on fire, and then I attacked.
Look how crazy that sounds. After they let me, after I, and he says like this is like after I died, I lit some dude on fire. That's I don't. Here we go.
It wasn't until after I got out of Cherokee, after having that psychotic break, after they made me light some dude on fire, and then I attacked my nephew and ended up in a mental institution for 5 months at 13 years old, having a psychotic break. But that time is when I started focusing and decided that if demons were real, then that means heaven and God had to exist too. And
yeah.
Oh, this is Dr. Grande.
Yeah. And now
Today's
we have
question
Dr.
is,
Grande. We need Dr. Grande. Yeah. Yeah, there you have it. I mean, tell me that that's not entertaining. Like, tell me that. I mean, for me, when I'm trying to have like a diversion on, like I'm studying, I'm like, oh, let me see what David Schroeder said about me, or what he's up to today. You get it's he says, I'm not here to entertain you, but then stop being entertaining, right? I mean, if you are, I would think, just theoretically, hear me out on this. If you were a satanic ritual abuse survivor, and there are other groups out there online, there's a community of people that tell their stories and they try to help each other and whatever. I mean, even if you looked at the concept of Ivory Garden, which is about people who had trauma in a larger term, a lot of it did happen, was part of sexual abuse. They were literally working on helping people work through those traumas and those things that are happening. David Schroeder, what he's doing, and I don't see why anybody would give him any type of applause or agree with anything that he says, rationally looking at him and looking at the restraining orders, looking at what is how effective is he within our society? Like, if this is a community, is he actually upholding his side of the community? He has a house right now. He's begging for money because he's back on taxes. The Pootie Twang. Today, David went off on Pootie Twang. I'm assuming it's Pootie Twang. Pootie Twang Montoya. Yeah, what was funny was that David said, I feel like I want to call ICE. What? Because he's using the last name Montoya? You want to call ICE on him? Like, as if that's really his last name, I mean, Pootie Twang Montoya, it's like it's made, it could be completely made up, but like David is like, I'm going to call ICE on him because he found documents of how I haven't been paying my taxes for my house for 2 years. It's just insane. But yeah, that's out there. Yeah, great convert. You have a double chin. You've put on a lot of weight. Thank you so much. I'm actually working on my chin and my weight, and like that's so cool. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thanks for showing. All right. You're gone now. Okay. And I feel like I actually look a little thinner than I was before, but they always love to talk about my double chin and how much weight I've gained and how ugly I am and how disgusting of a human being I am. Thank you for showing up. But you know what? I can still lose weight. All right. So whatever. It's probably the same guy that's telling, like, you know, David that his hair is thinning, right? I mean, it's like, duh, you know, your hair is thinning. You're fat. You have, David, you're fat. You're fat. Screw the fact that I have an awesome blue leather jacket on that just looks absolutely fabulous on me. I've got to be told. How long have I been told that I'm fat from people? Like Titus Frost and everybody. Like, you know what? Like, you're talking about me. You're talking about my physical appearance, whatever, because you don't have any other response about what I'm saying or what I do in my life or who I am. Because let me tell you something, and I know you're going to hate it when I say this, I have more clout than you do. I do. I have more clout than you. I've been in an NBC television show. I have a degree in digital journalism. I'm writing articles. I'm working as a journalist. I'm getting an MFA. I have credit, not you guys. You guys have spent your time LARPing around and being trolls on the internet and running around and saying that you run the internet. All of you are a little bit, you act a little bit like erratic and slightly touched in the head, okay? When it really comes down to it, I'm not the person who creates a sock account so that I can run in and tell somebody they're fat. Because, honestly, I really don't give a fuck. I got more important things to be writing about or saying or spend my time, like talking about artificial intelligence, writing about artificial intelligence, or actually really contributing to society. Really, most of you guys, in my opinion, are not even really worth my time. You're pretty much all a bunch of clowns. But this show is called Not My Rabbit Hole. And I'm here to talk about what's not a rabbit hole, because all of you are part of that lingo. All of you have your hand connected to some right-wing propaganda on the internet that went by a red pill mythology. That to me is interesting to talk about. Your association to the perpetuation of that happening on the internet, that's happening on American politics right now, is more interesting to talk about than actually being concerned that, and all you can do is say, I'm fat and I have a double chin, because I'm onto your shit. Okay? I know how it went down, and it's being played out in American politics right now. Your president or this president that doesn't want to divulge the Jeffrey Epstein files that y'all have been screaming and yelling about, that Isaac did a whole, rap about, basically. You're part of that. And now your guy is stopping that information from coming out. And most of you are silent about that. So when you talk about who's really saying things, who really cares about children, you're going to take the goggles off and look for everything from all sides and not just bat for one team because it happens to be your political party. So on that note, I think that's the end of Not My Rabbit Hole, because I got other things to do. But thanks for tuning in. Please like and share. Look for my shorts and my other videos. And I'm excited to have you here. And I hope to bring you more content about these grifting nuisances like David Schroeder. I'll see you next time.
He ain't no Saint Germain, no crown, no name. He plays the game, sharp as a flame. Who's to blame for the stolen fame? A shadow dance in the devil's frame. Caught in a rabbit hole, losing control, spinning wild on a stripper pole. Laughing loud, all for the lows, but baby, that's not my rabbit hole. City lights and sirens scream, truth and lies blend like a dream. Wicked smiles, a clever scheme, chasing gold in the neon gleam. Caught in a rabbit hole, losing control, spinning wild on the stripper pole. Laughing loud, all for the lows, but baby, that's not my rabbit hole. can't find the ground. Echoes of chaos all around. You chose this dance, this mad parade, but not every choice gets accolades. Go in the rabbit hole, losing control, spinning wild on the stripper pole. Laughing loud, all for the lows, but baby, that's not my rabbit hole. Laughing loud, all for the lows, but baby, that's not my rabbit hole. City lights and sirens scream. Truth and lies blend like a dream. Wicked smiles, a clever scheme. Chasing gold in the neon gleam. Going down the rabbit hole, losing control. Spinning wild on the stripper pole. Laughing loud all for the lows, but baby, that's not my rabbit hole.